Here we are. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Welcome. Happy Monday. A little bit cooler today, but yeah, yesterday was so uplifting, at least in my experience. I just needed that to get us through what's to come in the next little bit. It's amazing though, just like a little bit of warmth, a little bit of sunshine, and how that can really just change the vibe of how everything's moving. Hi Tia, I see ya. So just go ahead and get comfortable in whatever space it is that you created for your yoga practice this evening. I'll just give you a minute or so to make your way there. And we'll all meet lengthened out on our mat to find our opening Shavasana. So allowing your camera to stay on or off, whatever suits your comfort. And then once you make your way onto your mat, you can lengthen your legs, extend your arms comfortably beside you. Allow your gaze to soften or perhaps fully close your eyes. And just take the next handful of breaths to begin to allow yourself to settle into your yoga practice. So hopefully finding a distraction-free environment, a space where you can really begin to settle into your breath and onto your yoga mat. So with your gaze soft, your eyes closed, your body falling heavy to the space beneath you. Allow your next inhale to come deeply in through the nose. And then exhaling through the mouth with a heavy, heavy sigh. And then taking that same breath cadence a few more times. So the inhale fills the entire belly space with fresh breath. The exhale releases that breath through the lips, allowing weight to fall heavily into the backside of your body. Just sighing it all out. The next time your exhale arrives, you can allow your lips to come to touch. And begin to offer now both the inhale and your exhale to travel in and out of your nose. And then releasing any control of your breath for the time being. And just noticing the points on your body where you're connected to the ground beneath you. Heels, sitting bones, shoulders, the backs of your arms, and the back of your head. And allow every exhale to travel heavily into these spaces. Every breath allowing your body to find more muscular release. And perhaps even at this point in your practice, allowing these touch points to serve as an anchor point for presence. So if your mind begins to wander forward or back, can you find this connection to the mat? And allow that connection to draw you back, to hold you present. And then while maintaining heaviness through the back side of your body, let's take awareness to where mind wants to go. How present are you at this point in your day? Perhaps that presence comes with relative ease. For others, it might feel a little bit more effortful. What is it that you can do in your own individual meditation to keep you in the present? Perhaps it is coming back to that physical touch, that supportedness to the ground beneath you. For others, it might be simply noticing the breath, noticing the rise and fall within your physical body space. For others, it's simply that awareness that our mind is beginning to wander. And we've trained our minds to draw it back to the present moment. So whatever it is that resonates with you, just identify with that for a moment. And then release the observation or the thought with your next exhale. Beginning to build into the equal yoga breath or square breath. Adding a count to the length of your next inhale. Pausing at the top of the breath for the same amount of time. And then exhaling for the same amount of time. Pausing at the bottom of the breath. And then working into your inhale. The invitation to follow along with a count of 4 or to move with the own rhythm of your breath. Inhaling, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 3, 2, 1. Pause, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 3, 2, 1. Continuing here with the own cadence of your breath. Thinking of like tracing the outer edges of a square. All 4 points anchored evenly. At any point, this breath that doesn't resonate or doesn't suit, feel free to breathe in whatever pattern suits. Wherever you're at in your opening meditation, we'll stay here for another few counts of breath longer. Anchoring awareness through the backside of our bodies, presence through breath. Taking our next exhale all the way down to the bottom corners of our mat, wherever your heels are falling heavy. And just for a moment, observing the weight of both heels equally into your mat. Notice the temperature of the air on the pinky edges of both feet. And then beginning to wiggle out the toes. Allow that movement to come naturally. Maybe the ankles begin to rock side to side. Feet point and flex. Or maybe you take some circles through the ankle joint. However that movement comes, continue to allow awareness to fall heavy on the heels. Just notice the changing sensation as you find movement through your feet. When your next inhale comes, let's draw the toes up and press out with energy through both heels. Press the calves into the mat. And then exhale, soften any effort through the lower half of your body. And then allow 1 foot at a time to come and meet the mat. It's about mat width apart, so a little bit wider than the hips. Your toes can point out 30 or 40 degrees if that feels comfortable. And if you'd like a little bit lower back support, you can allow the knees to come to touch. From there, let's take awareness to the pinky edges of our fingers. Beginning to draw movement, 1 finger at a time. Moving nice and slow here, there's no rush. Eventually wiggling out all 10 fingers. You can roll out the wrist, make a fist, lengthen the fingers, spread them wide apart, beginning to bend through the elbows. And then the next time you inhale, can you reach out equally through all 10 fingers? Allow your hands to travel up to shoulder height. Allow the hands to then rest back through your hands onto the ground. And then soften the jaw, begin to rock the head gently side to side. The lower body is anchored, upper body is supported. This movement being isolated through the back of the neck and in through the crown of your head. Allowing your gaze now to come back through center. Take a moment to extend out of the crown of your head, lengthen out through the back of your neck, and once again, feel where your body is connected to the mat beneath you. So slightly changed from our opening meditation. Can you inhale that fullness through the midsection of your body? Feel the low back release from the mat. And then as you exhale, find weight sinking heavily down. Maybe even the low back presses into the mat. If your knees have come to touch, let's stack the knees about hip distance or so apart. And then when your next exhale arrives, allow your knees to float over towards the right and settle. Just for now, let's keep the gaze up through neutral or towards your ceiling. Eyes can still be closed if that feels comfortable. Begin to notice the left side body here. So noticing the upper rib cage, down to the lower rib cage, and down to the top of your left hip, maybe even to the outside of the left thigh. When your next exhale comes, can you sink some more weight into those body spaces? Envisioning space here being created between each individual rib. And as we hold, noticing if we're finding space. So sometimes we simply need that permission to move into this space, that permission to let go, knowing that our body is fully supported here and it's safe to do so. Perhaps at this point, you'd like to take your gaze to look over your left shoulder. Just hold here for another round of breath. If you'd like a little bit more opening through the upper left body, you can take that left wrist rather. Find the cactus arm by bringing the wrist 90 degrees above the elbow. So breathing here, one more round of breath. Using our next inhale, begin to transition everything back up through center. Lengthen out the arm if you found cactus on one side. And then exhale, take your knees over to the left, very gently to begin with. Keep your gaze neutral for the first few rounds of breath and just allow awareness now to come to settle in through your right side body. So starting around the shoulder, working down through the outer rib cage, into the right hip and perhaps the outer thigh. And just noticing here as we hold in stillness, what begins to release and let go. Where is it that you can find space to further deepen movement? The option now of taking your gaze over the right shoulder, maybe finding that half cactus arm by floating the right wrist now above the elbow. And just noticing that breath evenly moving in and out, coming back to that square breath if you'd like. Whatever it is that you need to anchor you into this moment. Use your next inhale to begin to transition back up through center. So lengthen the arm, allow the gaze to come up through center, knees follow. And then once you get there, you can draw the knees in towards your chest and lengthen out through your low spine and gently guide the knees towards your upper body. And then once you're there, think of squeezing the inner thighs in towards one another and gently rocking side to side. Coming back through neutral. For a moment, keep the knees up towards the body and just feel the low back pressing into the mat. You might need to scoop or adjust a little bit there. You might need to engage a little bit more through the core to help with that strong connection, but just feel the low back fully supported. From there, let's transition both hands behind the right thigh, interlace the fingers, and then allow the left leg to lengthen all the way down to the mat. Right ankle in line with the right knee, upper body draws your knee towards your right shoulder, coming into wind relieving pose. Soften the elbows beside your body. Press out through that left heel. Relax through the back of your teeth and soften the space between your brows. Maybe allowing for a little bit more hip opening now by releasing that left arm wide, shoulder height or lower, spinning that right thigh towards the ceiling, and using that right hand on the outside of the leg for support. So you're welcome to keep that neutral alignment or to open up the hip now to the outer long edge of your mat. Allowing that left side body to anchor you down. Keep the left toes flexed, drawing up energy out through your left heel. If you've allowed this right leg to open, let's inhale, draw the knee back in through center. And then exhale, lengthen that right leg all the way down to meet the left. Your next inhale brings both knees in towards your upper body and draw them close. And then from there, both hands come behind your left thigh. Exhale, right leg comes all the way down to the mat. Let's draw the left toes up, right toes come up as well. Use the upper body strength to guide that left knee towards your left shoulder. Lots of energy out through that right foot, anchoring the body here. And then the option of staying right here, holding in a nice static movement, or opening up that right arm, shoulder height or lower, spinning that inner left thigh towards the ceiling and allowing the hip to open. Okay, so both are perfect variations. Find what it is that you need this evening. It might look different on this side versus the other, but elbows are still soft beside the body, shoulders drawing down into the mat and away from your ears. Taking your next exhale, if the hip is open, let's draw it in. And then from there, gently releasing that left leg down to the bottom of your mat to meet the right. And then from there, let's inhale the arms overhead, arch through the low back and point the toes to take that full body stretch. Exhale, soften and release down to your mat. Elbows come back. Inhale, point the toes, press through your sitting bones, shoulders, and backs of your hands. Find the leg. Exhale, release it all down. One big breath here, all together. Find as much length as you can here from top to bottom. And then as you exhale, allow your lower body to release. Your hands come down, one on top of the other, or one onto the left hip rather, and then one onto your right hip. Elbows release down to your mat. So just feeling for those hip bones here. And then from here, we're going to take one foot at a time, left and then right. Press it into the mat, and then lift your hips away and scoot your hips over to the right edge of your mat. And allow your hips to come down once again. Lengthen your legs to the bottom of your mat. So coming into banana pose, so you just created a bit of space here to move our body over to the left. So in your own time, first that left heel draws towards the bottom left corner of your mat, toes spin outwards, and then the right here follows. So beginning to find a generous stretch here through the outside of your right leg and through your right side body. If it's enough just in the lower half of your body this evening, keep your hands right where they are and focus on belly button down. If you want to add a little bit more, you can float the arms overhead, first above the shoulders, and then find that C-like curve through the spine by walking first that left hand to the top left of your mat, and then the right hand to follow to whatever depth it is that you need. And if you choose that option, you may allow the gaze to fall over to the left. You might want to keep it neutral, whatever works. So beginning to find what level of side stretch you need here through the right side body. So although we're focusing on the right side body, I'd like to mention that left hip up through the left shoulder. Can we still think of finding space through that side body? So although we're generally focusing on the right side body, I still want that concept or that idea of finding space through that left side body to resonate. So we're always lifting, or we're always lengthening versus finding compression on one side. We'll take one more big breath here all together. Exhaling weight through the back of your body. If your arms are overhead, begin to walk them above the shoulders one at a time. And then once you reach there, you can allow your hands once again to come and rest on top of the hips. Lower half of the body now begins to release, starting with that right ankle. Take it underneath the hip, followed by the left. And then from there, 1 foot at a time, allow them to come to meet the mat. Press into the feet, lift the hips, and then scoot your hips over to the left side of your mat. Allow the upper body to follow along. So just give yourself some space there on your mat to move over to the other side. Once you arrive to the left side of your mat, you can lengthen the legs down to the bottom. Hands come to rest on your hips. Starting now with the lower half of the body, right heel walk to the bottom right of your mat. Left heel follows, toes spin out. Deciding if this is enough for banana pose on the opposite side. The option of floating the arms overhead. If so, palms are up towards your ceiling. Elbows can be soft or arms can be lengthened depending on what you need. And then beginning to take first that right wrist, followed by the left over to the top right of your mat. Maybe the gaze falls over to the right. Maybe it stays neutral. Lots and lots of options here. So move your body into a space where you're finding that stretch on the outer left side. But just like on the opposite side, we still want to be mindful of the right side body. So continuing to find extension from the hip, length through the outer rib cage. Allowing weight to sink heavily into the left sitting bone, into your left shoulder if the arms are overhead. Adjusting and moving in and out as you need. If your arms are overhead, we'll prepare to release those first by taking the wrist over shoulders. From there, gaze comes neutral, hands comes to hips. Allowing the lower body to release now. First left ankle, then right ankle. And then from there, you can allow the soles of your feet to come to touch the mat. And then draw them in towards the upper body. Wrap your arms around. Interlace the fingers or hands behind the thighs. And then exhale, draw the navel in, tuck your forehead towards the knees. Allow the chin to come towards your collarbone space. And then beginning to just gently rock a little bit side to side here. Allow your jaw to soften once again, wiggle it out. Coming back through center. First, release the upper body down to the mat, followed by the lower body. And then rock onto your favorite side and use your hand, your top hand, to guide you up into your comfortable seat. So growing a little bit taller this evening, working through side body extensions. Sitting up as tall as you can here, weight equal in left and right sitting bone, crown of your head, reaching up towards the ceiling. Let's inhale, spread the fingers, lift the palms up towards one another and just touch the fingertips here. Exhale, soften the elbows, draw your fingers down through heart center. Inhaling, breathing all the way up to the top of the breath, interlace the fingers, turn your palms up towards the ceiling. And soften the elbows as you guide the pinkies towards the back of your body. Think of tucking the lower rib cage in towards the top of the hip bones, a nice long lower spine. One big breath here, pressing out through the hands. And as you exhale, taking this forward, pressing the palms towards the front of your mat. Take your wrist in line with your shoulders. Allow your shoulder blades to wrap forward and away from your spine. Inhale, grow a little bit taller. Begin to peel the hands up towards the ceiling. We'll take that 2 more rounds of breath. So exhale, draw the navel in. Maybe this time the chin tucks towards your collarbones. Find that space in the upper back. And then inhale, sweep the arms overhead. Find that lift out of the sides of your bodies. One last time, releasing forward. Navel draws in, chest falls heavy. And then inhaling, sweeping up at the top of the breath. We're going to release the fingers, turn your palms to face one another, shoulder distance apart. From here, reach out of the fingertips, equally left and right. Drop your shoulder blades away from your earlobes. And then turn the right palm away from your body and allow the fingers to come down towards the mat. Wherever your fingers are touching, can you press equally through all 10 fingertips here? And then when you're ready to exhale next, soften that supporting elbow and begin to tip over towards the right. Find that space where you begin to feel that left side body engage. Think of sinking weight into your left sitting bone, lifting out of the left hip. Find that space between each individual rib cage and allow the fingers, the left fingers, to spread away from one another. From there, let's use the next inhale to come up through center. Right hand floats overhead, palms face one another. Take a moment to drop the shoulders. Turn the left palm away. Allow it to come down to the mat. Press into those fingers, equal weight in each individual fingertip, and then begin to tip over towards your left. Sink some weight into that left sitting or right sitting bone rather, up through your side body and out through the fingers, spread them wide. Continuing to lift, just like we did when we were on our backs, still out of this left side body. So we're always lifting, we're always lengthening, we're never collapsing into one side versus the other. Big belly breath here. In through the nose, out through your nose. Inhaling, beginning to float everything up through center and coming right into your seated twist. So right hand comes behind, left arm comes across. Right elbow draws back, left side presses forward. Keep your chin level with the ground beneath you and allow your gaze to float over your back shoulder. If it suits, you can use the back fingers to press into your mat and use that as a bit of an anchor to help facilitate the lift of the crown of your head. Whenever your next inhale arrives, you can use that to begin to unwind. Take the whole breath to bring the arms overhead. And then exhale, twist over to your opposite side. Left arm comes behind, close to the low back. Left elbow draws back. Right side presses into the twist. Lift out of the crown of your head. Don't collapse into the twist. It doesn't really matter how deep we get here, so long as we maintain the integrity of the spine. So lifting, lifting, lifting out of both sides, even though we're twisting. Maybe the gaze looks over your back shoulder. Keeping everything lifted, that breath nice and full. We'll use the next inhale to begin to transition out of your twist, your arms afloat overhead. Allow the palms to come to fully touch this time. Press with some energy through the palms of your hands and exhale that breath all the way down through heart center. And then from there, we're going to come into tabletop pose. So you can rock onto one side and then tip into your tabletop pose, or you can rock forward, press the heart through, and guide the knees under your hips. So arriving there however you need to this evening, wrist under shoulders, knees under hips, and if available, untucking the toes and pressing the big toe mounds into the mat. Just take a moment to set up the alignment, spread the fingers generously wide, press underneath the pointer finger, underneath the pinky finger, and underneath the thumbs. Let's inhale, tilt the pelvis, soften the belly, draw the shoulders towards your hips to find your cow pose. As you exhale, tuck the tailbone under, invite the navel in, press the mat away, as if you're scooping the collarbones towards your spine. Cat. Inhaling, softening the belly, imagining a string drawing the belly button down towards your mat. Shoulders energetically draw back. Big stretch here as the gaze floats forward. And then exhale. Press into the big toe mounds. Tuck the tailbone. Allow the chin to float towards your collarbones. And then from there, just transitioning with your own breath. Take as long as your inhale lasts to move. As long as your exhale lasts to transition. So coming back to that count that you found if you assigned a number at the start of your practice. If your count was 4 seconds for the inhale, hold count for that entire breath. If it was 4, use that transition. Use the full 4 seconds to transition and hold into your cat. And then from there, the invitation to begin to make some circles through the hips, either direction. Allow the hands to stay planted, the knees to stay under hips, weight through the tops of your feet, and if so, taking those circles in both directions. Beginning to feel activation and length through the side bodies as you shift weight forward and back. And then from there, let's come to meet in our tabletop pose, drawing the navel in towards the spine. So just like we're on flat back, or on our backs rather, we're trying to press the low spine into the mat. We want to mimic that same motion here by drawing the navel in towards your spine. Keep that flat back nice and strong. And from there, let's take one elbow at a time down to the mat, elbows under shoulders, wrist in front of our elbows. And either choosing to stay right here for puppy pose, focusing on drawing the shoulder blades away from the ears, or if you'd like a little bit more extension through the front of your body, you can lengthen the hands now, allow the chest to melt down towards your mat. Maybe the forehead comes all the way down as well. If your forehead is down and you need a little bit more space or somewhere else to go, be mindful of the back of your neck, but you can take your chin down to the mat. Okay. So all different versions of our puppy pose, allowing the chest to open, shoulders to release. Core is active, protecting the low back space so their hips stay stacked above our knees. Noticing the grounding effect of a forward fold, keeping presence onto your yoga mat, into your space. If you've extended the hands to the top of the mat, one at a time, let's take the elbows once again to come to meet underneath our shoulders. And then one hand at a time from there, let's press the hands into the mat underneath the shoulders, pressing your way back up into tabletop pose. And then from our tabletop pose, we're going to first feel the right hand into the mat, and then feel the left hand, or left foot rather, into the mat. So working with opposites here. Let's take the left toes to the back of the mat and press out through the heel. And then let's take the right hand forward, spin your palm toward the midline of your body, maybe even hugging the bicep by the right ear. Coming into a balancing table. The option of keeping these left toes on the mat, if you'd like, you can float them away from the ground, heel coming no higher than the sitting bone. So here with toes floating, maybe toes are on the mat. If it's not for you tonight to have the hands lifted, you can keep that right hand on the mat and focusing on lengthening out through the back of your left leg and through your left side body. Beautiful. If the hand is lifted, use your next exhale to take it down to the mat. Allow the toes to come to touch as well if they're lifted. And then from there, let's all take that left knee down to the mat and transition immediately over to the other side. So first feeling that left hand in the mat, right knee into the mat, lengthen the right leg to the back of your yoga mat, pressing out through the heel. An option is staying here, focusing on lengthening through your right side body, or floating the left fingers forward, palm faces midline. If so, hug the bicep by the ear, maybe lifting the toes away from the mat. Lots of variations for where you'd like to be in your balancing table. Core is active in all options. Navel is lifting, protecting the low spine. That breath is still nice and full, very even. If the hand is lifted still, we'll take that down to the mat underneath your shoulder. If the toes are lifted, we'll take those to touch the mat. And then from there, allow that right knee to come down. Guide the big toes together. Let's make our way into child's pose. So taking the knees wider than your hips, pressing through your hands to guide your sitting bones towards your heels, and allowing your forehead to come down to be fully supported. Wonderful. So if your forehead is resting on something, maybe allowing the head to gently shake side to side like you're nodding no. Releasing through the back of the neck and putting a bit of a massage in through the forehead. If the hands are extended to the top of the mat, can you walk the fingers away from the body another ½ inch or so? Continuing to lengthen equally out of both your left and right side body. From there, let's inhale, press through the hands, begin to float the heart space towards the hands and tuck your toes, guide your knees underneath your hips. And then from there, let's roll sideways on our mats so that we have a bit of space to lengthen out the legs. And then we're going to inhale, come on to our knees. Lift your hips above your knees. And if you'd like a little bit more padding underneath the knees, if you have a pillow, that might work. Otherwise, you can double up your mat by rolling it under like so, maybe even rolling it once more. Okay, so just take a moment to make your way there. Hips stacked above the knees. If the toes are still tucked, let's untuck the toes and take the hands to the hips. And then from there, we're going to start with this right side. So taking that right leg out beside so that we find a space where the pinky edge of our foot is rooted down into something. It might help to walk the foot slightly forward if that feels better, maybe even turning the toes away from the body slightly until you begin to feel a bit of a stretch in through the inner right thigh. And then from there, just take a moment to really root through the outside of that right foot. We're going to inhale, bring the arms overhead. If you're doing the standing, it's the exact same, okay? We're just going to keep that left foot rooted. If you'd like to hold on to something with the left hand, that's an option as well. So making our way into gate pose. Let's allow that right hand to slide down the right leg, palm up towards the ceiling. And then lift out of the left fingers, just like we did when we were seated. Begin to slightly tip over towards the right until that point where you feel stretch through your left side body. It doesn't have to be an impressive movement here to be effective. Well, it might not look like too much, but it's so generous through your left side body. Big breath here, holding gate pose, continuing to press through the outside of your right foot. Let's inhale, bring the arms overhead. And then at the top of that breath, exhale, take your hands down to your hips. Draw the upper arm bones back towards one another. And then as you exhale next, begin to tip the pelvis forward. Come into a bit of a forward fold option. Holding there. Use your next inhale to lift all the way out and float the arms overhead. Take a bit of a flow. Exhale, tip over to the right. Feel that left side body. And then inhale, come up, hands come to hips. Exhale, hinge forward. We'll do that one last time. Inhaling, lift out of the crown of your head. Float the arms overhead. Exhale, find that side stretch. Right hand melts down the leg. Left arm reaches over. And then inhaling, floating up. Exhale, hands to hips, lead with the heart, find your fold. And then inhale, sweeping all the way up. Let's take the hands down to the mat, soften the knee, and then take it underneath the hips just for a moment. Come to sit on the heels if that's comfortable. Otherwise, you can keep the hips stacked above the knee. And then from there, roll up the wrist, give your shoulders a bit of a wiggle. Find your release however you need to. And then we'll transition over to the opposite side. So the next time you inhale, we'll lift the hips above the knees. Lengthen that left leg out now, either in line with the hip or slightly forward or back. Find that point of connection now with the outside of your left foot. Hips are still square. Inhale, bring the arms overhead. Lift equally out of both side bodies here. Exhale, left hand spills down the leg, palm up towards the ceiling, and extend the right hand over. Take a moment just to settle into this opposite side. Can you think of lifting out of your right hip, finding that space, again, through each individual rib, and eventually out through your arm. Finding that flow, let's inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands to hips, hinge forward. Think of our cow-like spine here. Your tailbone is tipping back. Inhale, lift out of the crown of the head. Float your arms over and up towards the ceiling. Exhale into your bridge pose. And notice how every time perhaps we explore, there's maybe space to move. Inhaling up. Exhaling, hinge. Or maybe there's space to back out of. It's hard to tell right now. Maybe you're all secretly very, very angry with me right now. I hope you're not. Inhale up. Bring the arms up. One last time on each side. Exhaling, tipping into bridge. And then inhaling, finding that flow, coming up last time. Exhaling, releasing forward. Draw the elbows towards the spine. And then inhale up. And exhale, we're going to release. Take the hands to the mat. Let's spin around and find our way, however you need to get there. Let's find our way back to a child's pose. We're finding a version of child's pose where your forehead is connected to something, whether that be a pillow, your blanket, or your mat, maybe taking one fist on top of the other and allowing for a bit of a cushion there. And whatever it is that your forehead is connected to here, can you think of lengthening out through the back of your neck so that you have that perfect equal pressure in the middle of your forehead? So as best as we can here in our home spaces, can we find that space where the back of our length is lengthened, or back of our neck rather is lengthened, and our forehead is equally falling heavy into something. And then from there, can you notice the back of your shoulder blades pulling down towards your sitting bones? Maybe your chest and your belly fall a little bit heavier, some more weight through the front side of your body. Coming back to the breath. Noticing the count of your inhalation, the count of your exhalation. Wherever your body is finding weight, can you allow that space to be your anchor into the present? If your hands are not lengthened in front of your body, the invitation to move there now by walking the hands in line with the shoulders. And then from there, pressing through the hands, inhaling just to look forward between those spaces. We'll take a bit of a side body stretch here by walking the hands, first the right and then the left over to the right, and allowing weight to fall into your left sitting bone. So again, looking for that generous side stretch through your left side body. And then once you arrive there, if you'd like, you can allow the gaze to fall down again to the mat. Maybe your forehead comes to connect to something. If you're there and you'd like a little bit more through the side body, you can take your right hand, sweep it behind your back, turn your palm away from your body, and see if your fingers can graze or tickle towards the left hip crease. Okay. So wherever it is, we're exploring strength and sensation through the left side body. If the hand has come behind the opposite hip crease, let's begin to walk that forward. And then from there, pressing through the hands, inhale, lift the gaze. Take that inhale to come back through center. And then your exhale to take the hands over towards the left. Just take a moment to move into that side stretch, right body. Maybe the gaze once again falls down towards the mat. If you'd like, you can take that left hand, spin the palm away from the body, and reach the fingers towards the right hip crease. Your elbows can be long, they can be soft. Just being present with sensation and finding a space that works. Finding something for the moment that's sustainable just for another few breaths. Pressing through your hands, let's inhale. If the hand is round on the back, sorry, let's lengthen that out first. You're gonna need that. And then press through your hands. And then inhale, come back through center, soften your elbows, walk your hands back in towards your bodies. Take the knees in towards one another and come onto either hip, left or right. And then once you're there, you can spin the legs out in front. And let's lengthen the legs towards the bottom of your mat. Knees can be bent slightly or legs can be long. And then draw the toes up, coming into our seated forward fold. Inhale, bring the arms overhead, palms spin towards one another. Exhale, come to about halfway. Reach out at the fingers, draw the shoulders away from your earlobes, and then continue to hinge from the hips as you fold forward. Let's keep the heart lifted just for a moment. Shoulder blades drawing in towards the spine. Find that space just below the belly button, just above the pubic bone. I'm going to guide it in towards the low spine. If we've created a bit of space, perhaps you can hinge a little bit further. And if it feels safe to do so, you can allow the crown of your head to fall heavy towards the toes. You can allow your eyes to close or your gaze to soften. And just try to stay present with sensation here. So wherever it is that you feel the idea of stretch, you can settle your awareness or mental space into that area. Finding a big, deep inhale through the nose and exhaling equally through the nose. Doing that a few more times. Big belly breaths here. Noticing any release. And then using your next inhale to begin to transition all the way up, lifting out of the crown of your head. Draw the shoulders back, chin level to the ground beneath. Let's take the right foot to come to meet the floor. That might stay far away from the body, so maybe out by the ankle. If it's available, you can walk the heel a little bit closer to the body. And we can either stay hip distance apart here or take the foot towards the inner line of the body, okay, wherever you feel most rooted. From there, we're going to take the hands to either the shin or behind the thigh and use that to help lift even taller out of the crown of our heads. Toes of the left foot are drawing up. From there, let's inhale just for a moment, the hands overhead, and we're going to twist over to this bent knee. So as you exhale, twisting over to the right hand comes behind, and maybe that left arm comes to hold on to the shin. Maybe we can take the elbow to the outside of the thigh, or if you prefer, you can use the arm to hug it close towards the body's midline. And maybe if you'd like, you can take your gaze to look over the back shoulder, drawing the right shoulder back and pressing the left side body forward. Really energetically here, pressing through that right big toe side of your foot to help keep you anchored. Finding that string out of the crown of your head, lifting out of the top of your spine. When you inhale next, we're going to use that to bring the arms overhead. Find a counter twist over towards the left. Hands come wherever they reach. Think of pressing everything over to the left. Big stretch through the shoulders. And then inhale, come back through center. Lengthen the legs, wiggle them out if you'd like a bit of release. And then take that left foot to connect with something. Okay. So deciding the placement of this foot on this side, it might look different. Right toes are drawing up. Find the lift out of the crown of your head. And then inhale, arms up. Exhale, finding the twist opposite side. Left arm comes behind. Finding wherever you'd like this right hand to be, that's going to help you feel anchored. You drop that left shoulder away from the ear. Maybe your gaze falls over the shoulder. Just allowing yourself to gently move into this. No need to force it. Take your next inhale to begin to draw the arms overhead as you unwind. And then exhale, taking that counter twist over towards the right. Right shoulder draws back, left side body presses forward. And then inhaling, coming back, lengthening both legs beside one another, or taking the feet to the mat and then guiding yourself down, however you need to get there. Okay, give yourself some space on your mat to come all the way down. And then once you arrive on your back, you can draw the knees in towards your upper body. And while keeping them there, find a gentle rocking motion side to side. Allowing eventually the soles of your feet to once again to come and make connection with the mat. And then open up the arms, shoulder height or lower. If you'd like to take cactus arms, both left and right arms, that's an option. Find a point where you can really root down through the shoulders and through the back of your head. Inhale fullness through the entire midsection now. And then exhale, knees to the right. Inhale, knees center. Exhale, Knees to the left. Just one more time on each side. Inhaling up. Exhaling over. Inhaling center. Exhaling all the way over to the opposite side. And then inhaling, drawing your knees through center. Once they arrive there, 1 foot at a time. Lengthen the heels down to the bottom corners of your mat. Allow the thighs to open. Your hands now floating a little bit closer to the body. Lengthening the hands, turning your palms up towards the ceiling. Sink weight equally into your shoulders. Soften your jaw. Allow the gaze to rest or your eyes to close. And at this point, release the need to control breath, body, and mind. Let's take a few minutes here together to find Shavasana. And you deepen your next exhale all the way down to your toes. Noticing the hands and your feet. Beginning to wiggle out through the ankles. Roll out through the wrists. In your own time and in your own way, begin to guide your knees in towards your upper body. And then with your knees drawn close, you can rock onto your favorite side. Cradle your head into your upper arm and take a full breath once you're there. You can use your next inhale to guide yourself up into your easy seat. Softening the shoulders, allowing your gaze to remain soft. Bring the arms overhead. Take the whole breath to arrive. There's no rush. And then exhale. Soften the elbows. Draw your hands down towards your heart. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Let me know what you need. I'm here. I've recorded the class. If you'd like a recording, just reach out. I'm happy to send it along.